Today we are starting with field trip. A school club and leaders are going to a play. A maximum of 10 people can go. They can spend $72 or less for their admission price. The theater charges $8 per adult and $6 per student. So we're going to use the table to investigate possible combinations of people that satisfy the conditions. So let's say we're going to take 3 adults and 7 students. Does that fit the first condition? Okay. So how many total people are going? 10. How much are we paying for the adults? And if we're taking 3, we're paying 8 times 3, so 24. Very good. How much are we paying for students? $6 per student. We're taking 7, so 42, for a total of 66. Does that meet the conditions? Is that acceptable? Yes. Okay. Let's say we're taking 5 adults and 2 students for a total of 7. Does that satisfy the conditions? Okay. How much are we paying for the adults? 40. Because we're taking 5 and they're $8 per adult. How much are we paying for the students? Because they're $6 each and we're taking 2, so 12 for a total of $52. Is that acceptable? Yes. Harmony, you're going on this trip, aren't you? How many adults are going? 7 adults. How many students are going? 3. Odd combination, but still. If it's the conditions, right? Okay. So how much are we paying for adults? $56. And how much are we paying for students? $18. So we are spending total $74. That is not okay, is it? Okay, not acceptable. You want to go? Okay, Kelsey, how many adults are going? 4 adults are going, and how many students? 4. Is that acceptable? Because there's 8, and it says 10, a maximum of 10. It's not requiring 10, is it? Okay, just a maximum. So how much are we paying for adults? $32. And how much are we paying per student? 24 for a total of 68. 6. That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant also. 56. That's what I get for listening. Is that acceptable? Okay. Linda, are you going on this trip? Okay, how many adults are going? 2? How many students are going? 8. Is that acceptable for the number of people? Okay, yes. What are we paying for the adults? 16. What are we paying for the students? 48. For a total of 64. Is that acceptable? Good. Tristan, are you going on the trip? How many adults are going? 3 adults. How many students? 5. Is that acceptable? Okay, so that's only 8 people total. How much are we paying for adults? What did you say? Oh, 24. Okay. And 30? For a total of 54. Is that acceptable? Yes. Okay. So do you get the idea that when we get a list of conditions that sometimes there can be more than one answer? Yes. Okay, turn it over. A business team is touring the plant. The tour van can seat 7 people. A function that represents the number of women and men that can ride in the car is W plus M equals 7. Look at A. Graph W plus M equals 7. W and M? Guess what? We can do it. For real. Okay? What are our two variables again? And what do they stand for? Women and men. So which one do you want to go here? Women? And why did we put women here? Because Kelsey said, could I put men here? Yes, but I heard women on the bottom first. So over here on the side, traditionally the y-axis is going to be men. What axis is it right now? In the context of the problem, what axis is this? It's the M axis, isn't it? In the context of the problem, what axis is this? The W axis. Okay? Now, if I'm graphing, what axis do I normally, or what variable do I normally solve for? The y. Okay? I don't have a y in this case. What do I have? An M. So if I normally solve for the y, shouldn't this time I solve for the M? How am I going to solve this equation for the M? Good. Subtract W. So I get M equals 7 minus W. Okay so far? All right. Well, how do I graph that? On this axis, how far am I going to go up? Because that's my starting point, right? How am I counting? By ones? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, what's my slope? If this is my starting point, where's my slope? My slope is -1. My slope is here. It's my multiplier of my other variable, isn't it? So how should I scale my x-axis, or excuse me, my w-axis? Probably by ones as well, right? So if my slope is -1, from here I go down 1, and then over 1 which way? Right. Correct. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. All the way until where? Till I get to the w-axis, right? In the context of the problem, can I connect these dots? Can I have half of a man or half of a woman? I have some friends. No, we're not going to go there. Okay? But in the context of the problem, I cannot connect these dots, can I? But what do I have? I have an equation. So can I connect them? Yes. So now we need to be able to talk about x and y again. Are you okay with that? Are you still clear of which axis is x and which axis is y? Okay, so what is the y-intercept? Try again. Yes. 0, 7 is the y-intercept, because remember it's a point. We can't just call it a number. Remember that? What does the y-intercept mean in this situation? I agree that that's where the line crosses the y-axis. I totally agree with that, but I mean in the context of this problem, what does it mean? X is women, right? So if there are 0 women, there are 7 men. Yes? Okay, what about the x-intercept? 7, 0, 7, 0. Again, it's a point, and we write it as a point, right? What does the x-intercept mean in this situation? Acceptable? So what do you notice about what the y-intercept looks like? Compare it to the x-intercept. What's happening here? When we're finding the y-intercept, the x is 0. When we're finding the x-intercept, the y is 0. Does that make sense? Good. Look at number 2. A small MP3 player holds 50 songs, some of which you like and the rest you do not like. Write a function that represents the number of songs you like, L, and the songs you do not like, D. Guys, how many times have you ever graphed an equation with M and W or L and D? So my obvious question is it possible? Well, yeah, because we just did it, right? Okay? We just have to keep it straight in our heads, don't we? Okay? So write a function. What's the function look like? What kind of songs do I have? Songs that I like and songs that I don't like. How many total songs do I have? 50. Does that seem like a logical way to write the function? Now, is it in a form that we can graph from? Not that you're familiar with, right? So what do we do to get it to a function form that we can graph with? I need to subtract, but which variable is which? Which one's going to be on our x-axis? Which one's going to be on our y? It doesn't matter, so let's go ahead and name this axis. What is this axis going to be called? Songs I like. So that means it's L, right? So this axis is going to be songs I don't like. Say it again. We have to decide which one to subtract from both sides, yes, and you want to subtract L from both sides? Why do you want to subtract L from both sides? D is along the y-axis, and that's the one we need to solve for, right? So we subtract L from both sides. So I get D equals, I'm going to write it different than I wrote it last time, because I need you to see it another way. How did I write it different than last time? What came first last time? The number and then the variable. What came first this time? And then the number. So the letter came first and then a number, or the variable, right? So does that affect how I graph it? No. Okay. How am I going to scale my axes? Because my y-intercept is 50, right? By 5s? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So we said our starting point is where? 50? And what's our slope? What's our change? -1. How do I know that? It's my multiplier of my other variable, right? Okay. So, but I scaled it by 5s, right? So can I go down 5 and right 5? Is that still -1? Down 5, right 5? In the context of the problem, can I connect these dots? Can I have half a song? No. But because I have an equation, can I connect the dots? Yes. What does the y-intercept mean in this situation? Well, what is the y-intercept? What? 50, 0? So what does that mean in this situation? There are 50 songs Oh, we're talking about y-intercept first, right? So there are 50 songs I don't like. Oh, we need to try this again. What is our y-intercept? 0, 50. So we're going to write it in order. We're going to make it make sense to us. There are 0 songs I like and 50 songs I don't like. Does that make sense? I apologize, I was thinking ahead to the next question. So what is the x-intercept in this situation? 50, 0. And what does that mean in this situation? There are 50 songs I like and 0 songs I don't like. Very good. Any questions? How do you feel about these? Okay. Look at number 3. Let's start at A. I need to be able to graph that line. How do I graph it? Subtract 2x from both sides. Get the y by itself, right? So y equals 8 minus 2x. What's my starting point? 8. It's my starting point on my y-axis, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what's my slope? -2, so it's a decreasing slope, so down 1, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Got it? What about B? Oh, what's my starting point? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what's my slope? -2. Down 2, right 1. Didn't I just do this problem? What does that mean? How are my graphs different? How are my graphs different? They are not. So what does that mean about these two equations? Yeah, they're equal, aren't they? Okay. All right, you're going to do C and D, and you're going to do number 4 on your own. Okay, C and D and number 4 on your own. Go to the second page, please, called Standard Form. Second page called Standard Form. I'm going to work with Standard Form just a little bit. I bought cupcakes and cinnamon rolls at Susie B's Bakery. I actually wish I bought cupcakes and cinnamon rolls at Susie B's Bakery. Cupcakes are $3 each, and a cinnamon roll... and cinnamon rolls are $5 each. I spent $30. So write an equation that will represent possible combinations. Cupcakes, they want you to use X, and cinnamon rolls, they want you to use Y. How much did I pay for a cupcake? $3 for a... Oh, that's not a 3. $3 for a cupcake. And $5 for a cinnamon roll. And I spent how much? $30. Letter B asked me to put that equation in slope-intercept form. What would be my first step if I'm putting this in slope-intercept form? Subtract what? 3x. from both sides, right? That gives me 5y equals negative 3x plus 30. Is the y all the way by itself? What do I have left to do? Divide by 5. So y equals negative 3/5 x. I divide that by 5, but I also have to divide that by 5 too, don't I? Plus 6. Now, I need you to understand that I have an issue with C and D. Both of them. Because if we're really trying to develop our numeracy, do we want to jump to our calculator every time? No. Use your calculator to find out how many cinnamon rolls I purchased if I purchased 5 cupcakes. What variable is representing cupcakes? X. So can I put 5 in for X? What is negative 3/5 times 5 over 1? 5 cupcakes. Negative 15 over 5 equals negative 3, right? What is negative 3 plus 6? 3 cinnamon rolls. I'm trying to find cinnamon rolls, right? Because I knew how many cupcakes. My bigger problem comes with letter D. And let me explain to you my big problem here. The state requires me, in my standards for this class, I'm required to teach you using a calculator. The state of Texas says I will use a calculator. And guys, I agree with that. Okay? I can teach you the how, but if all we do is spend time with paper and pencil learning the how, we never get to the why, and most of the time that's the cool stuff. Okay? So I'm required to use a calculator to teach you some of the stuff. Now, we're always going to know the paper and pencil method first. I'm always going to teach you how to do it first without the calculator, and then I'll use the calculator. But I am currently tutoring 2 different students. One of them is going to Cisco, and one of them is going to Texas Tech. And in all fairness, they got really good grades in my class while they were here. It's just been 3 or 4 years since they've taken my class, by the time they finished my class and got to college algebra. Okay? So I can usually start an example for them, and then they remember it and finish it. It's the starting that they're having trouble with. I don't mind doing that. But here's the problem. The one going to Cisco is allowed to use a calculator. The one going to Texas Tech is not allowed to use a calculator in her college algebra class. That's crazy. And to make matters worse, her roommate or suite mate, I can't remember which one, who's taking a different professor for Algebra 1 is allowed to use a calculator. So I'm not saying you can use them at Cisco and you can't at Texas Tech. I'm saying it depends on where you go and your professor whether you can use a calculator or not. So I need to make sure you know ways to do things like this with a calculator and without a calculator, because I don't know where you're going or who you're going to get. Okay? So let's look at D after my little rant. I apologize for that. Not really. Okay? Use your calculator to fill in the ordered pairs. What ordered pair is this going to be? If this is a 0, what is this actually? If x is a 0, this is really a y-intercept, right? And if the y is a 0, what is this really? An x-intercept, okay? So if x is 0, and I go back up to my standard form of my equation, and x is 0, isn't it like it's not even there? Because 3 times 0 is just 0, correct? So 5 times what number equals 30? Oh my gosh. Done. Can I do it this way too? If we're trying to find the x and let y equal 0, 3 times what equals 30? Tell me why I had to have a calculator to do that. Wasn't it even actually easier without the calculator? Yeah. What do these points mean in the real world? If I bought 0 cupcakes, I bought 6 cinnamon rolls. And this one, if I bought 10 cupcakes, I bought 0 cinnamon rolls. You guys are getting pretty good at that. I'm proud of you for that. Okay? Finish the sentences and then we'll start talking about Cassie. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to number 2. Cassie has a combination of dimes and quarters only in her purse. She has a total of $4 in her purse. So we need to write an equation that will represent possible combinations of dimes and quarters in her purse. Anybody have any ideas? My first question is this: do we want to work with decimals or not? No? Typically people don't want to work with decimals unless it's money and then they don't mind. So I just want to know if you want to work with them or not. No? It doesn't matter, so I heard somebody say no, so let's go with no decimals. Okay? You can do it either way, and I'll show you in just a second after we get it done, because last period we actually did it with decimals. Okay? So, what's our equation? Any ideas? Dimes are x. So how much is a dime worth? 10. So 10x plus 25y equals? But I have to do it like this, right? 400 if we're not using decimals. It's a place value issue, right? Okay. Put it in standard form. It is in standard form. Put it in slope-intercept form. How are we going to do that? Subtract 10x. 25y equals 400 minus 10x. And then divide everything by 25. So y equals 400 divided by 25. How many quarters in $4? 16. See, hey, we just did some math in our head. Yay for us. Anybody know what 10 divided by 25 is? I kind of do it because I already did it last period, but I know both of these are divisible by 5, right? So 2 over 5x. You okay with that? So how many quarters will she have if she has 5 dimes? Well, which variable is dimes? X, so can I put 5 in here for x? So what's 2/5 times 5? 2/5 times 5. 2 over 5, which is, 10 over 5, which is 2. What is 16 minus 2? 14 quarters. How many dimes will Cassie have if she has 10 quarters? What variable represents quarters? The y. So I have to put it somewhere else this time, right? 10 equals 16 minus 2/5 x. So if I subtract 16 from both sides, I get negative 6 equals negative 2/5 x. And here is something really important. Do I divide both sides by negative 2/5? No, because I don't divide by fractions, do I? What is the same thing as dividing by fractions? Multiplying by their reciprocal. Okay? So I multiply both sides by negative 5 over 2. Okay? Because look what happens here. What's negative 5 times negative 2? 10. What's 2 times 5? What is 10 over 10? So is the x by itself like it's supposed to be? Yes. So I have negative 5 times negative 6. 30 divided by 2. 15. What's the answer to my question? 15 dimes. Very good. So use your calculator. Oh, I don't want to fill in the ordered pairs. If y is 0, 10 times what equals 400? 40. Look at us doing our math in our head like crazy. What if x is 0? 25 times what equals 400? 16. We already did that one, didn't we? What do they mean in the real world? If I have 40 dimes, I have 0 quarters, and if I have 0 dimes, I have 16 quarters. You can write that in a second. Look over here real quick. This is what we did last period, except we used decimals. 10 cents for x, 25 cents for y equals 4. Did we get the same thing for our equation? Is that the same? Is 2 divided by 5 equal to 0.4? It is, right? Look, 14 quarters, 15 dimes. We still got everything exactly the same. We just have to be careful of that number at the end, if we use decimals or not. Okay? So tonight for homework, you're going to do 3 and 4 on this page that we were just on, the standard form page. And on field trip, you're going to do C and D and number 4. Any questions about that?